Another thing I still remember from that horrible day in November of '72 was that some dingbat named Clinton was said to be almost single-handedly responsible for losing 222 counties in Texas, including Waco, where he was McGovern's regional coordinator, and he was terminated without pay with prejudice and sent back home to Arkansas with his tail between his legs, as an aide put it. We'll never see that stupid bastard again. One McGovern aide muttered Clinton. Bill Clinton, yeah, let's remember that name. He'll never work again, not in Washington. Interesting. So George McGovern is going to get his ass kicked all across America. So Bill Clinton's losing 222 counties in Texas, including Waco, while a major loss, was pretty much consistent with McGovern's campaign across the board. Late 19th century people developed a powerful attitude toward drug abuse, resting on conceptions of individual worth and the national purpose. Medical, pharmaceutical, and other influential organizations understood the threats addicted posed for special groups such as women, professionals, and young people. Yet, while loathing and fearing addiction, many late 19th century people sympathized with addicts. They condemned the use of drugs for escape or sensual pleasure, but many people believed that addiction was a form of physiological slavery, which alleviated the user's guilt. H. Wayne Morgan, Yesterday's Addict. O ye of little faith, politics is like a death march when you lose too many times in it. Sure as hell isn't the losers who tell you stupid things like politics is better than sex. Winning is an addiction. And Bill Clinton is a pure junkie. Most people would deny their addictions, but not me. I got an addictive personality, and medical experts agree that I can't be cured, which used to worry people running for president of the United States when I showed up with no warning at their homes late at night for random confrontations on issues of national security or regressive taxation or rumors of ugly personal scandals in the family. But that was a long time ago. Things are different now. Once I became a registered compound addict, there were no more problems with red tape or fears of public exposure and disgrace just for being seen with me. No candidate will risk being linked with a suspected addict, but a registered admitted addict is a wholly different thing. As long as I'd confessed, I was okay. Nobody really cared about the countless criminal addictions that preyed on me day and night, just as long as I was not in denial. And that was the key. As long as they knew that I knew I was sick and guilty, I was safe, they were only trying to help me. Look at Bill Clinton. He sent his own brother to prison for his own good. Bill was a new age sensitive guy, and poor Roger Clinton, well, he was the evil dunce of the family, the black sheep kid brother who was always getting in trouble, while his brilliant big brother was shaking hands with President John Fitzgerald Kennedy in the Rose Garden. Roger was hanging out at the Tuttle House in Little Rock and getting to know the local police. And when Bill went to Oxford as a Rhodes Scholar, Roger went to Memphis and got himself involved with what was then called the criminal element. Soon he was running wild and getting his name in the newspaper. Some people said he was a dope fiend and needed to be protected for his own good. It was only after a few years later, when the state police came to Governor Bill Clinton, told him the bad news: his little brother was about to be busted for drugs in a sting operation, that Bill did what he had to do. Roger was a criminal and Bill was not. Roger went to the big house and Bill went to the White House. I knew I had no choice but to be a part of the 1992 election, even though I realized it was not going to be much fun, win or lose, except briefly for the campaign staff of the lone survivor who would be the next president of the United States and move with his people to the White House, where many would drown or be dashed to death on the dark reefs of the fast lane. The only other sector of the electorate who would feel any joy on election night were the junkies like me, who understood in their hearts that the only real priority in 1992 was beating George Bush. Nothing else mattered. And nothing else mattered. Chapter 2, the Book of Screeds, the roots of addiction, the degradation of American politics in the final years of the American century. Abandon all Hope ye who enter here. Welcome to Mr. Bill's neighborhood, the tragic story of one man's struggle with the forces of evil and greed. On the campaign trail from Kennedy to Clinton, there is no such thing as the next junkie. I have existed from the morning of the world, and I shall exist until the last star falls from the heavens. Although I have taken the form of Gaius Caligula, I am all men as I am no man, and so I am God. Bill Clinton, 1993. Why he quoted it like he said that thing. That doesn't sound like he would say any. There are not many flat out good political movies on the racks these days, and not many ever made for that matter, but the handful of good ones are humdingers. Being there is one of them, and so is All the King's Men. Citizen Kane will tell you a lot about politics, and so will JFK or The Life of Richard Nixon. But if you want a serious political movie, have a long look at Caligula, which a lot of people will tell you is the best. Caligula is a genuine monstrosity, a saga of greed, failure, and corruption that makes Nixon seem like an amateur and Charles Manson a punk. Caligula was serious, and he had no use for journalists. Let's ask 5 questions. What color do Chinese brides traditionally wear? Red, blue, or white? Which of these movies was not inspired by a Stephen King novel, Donnie Darko, Carrier, The Green Mile? In what present-day country is Waterloo, where Napoleon was defeated in 1815? Who became the first African-American woman to be named a principal dancer for the American Ballet Theater in 2015? Potatoes and tomatoes are members of the same family. True or false? Which of these is not a weight class in boxing? Featherweight, flyweight, or cloudweight? See, cloudweight. Potatoes and tomatoes, false. Who became the first African American woman to be named principal dancer? I have no idea. Josephine Baker. What present day country is Waterloo, where Napoleon? This is my guesses, okay? So I don't. Waterloo, where Napoleon was defeated. Waterloo, isn't that in? Is that Germany? Or was that Poland? I mean, it's over there. It's over there somewhere. It's over there in Europe. It's by German, or to the west of Germany, I believe. Which of these movies was not inspired by Stephen King? Donnie Darko, Carrier, or The Green Mile? Either Donnie Darko or The Green Mile. Donnie Darko. What color do Chinese brides traditionally wear? I didn't know it, but I was like, I hope it's red. And it is red. So I'll tell you one of those 6 questions. What color do Chinese brides traditionally wear? Red. There are a lot of ways to practice the art of journalism, and one of them is to use your art like a hammer to destroy the right people who are almost always your enemies for one reason or another, and who usually deserve to be crippled because they're wrong. This is a dangerous notion, and few professional journalists will endorse it, calling it vengeful and primitive and perverse, regardless of how often they might do the same thing themselves. That kind of stuff is opinion, they say, and the reader is cheated if it's not labeled as opinion. Well, maybe so, but maybe Tom Paine cheated his readers, and Mark Twain was a devious fraud with no morals at all who used journalism for his own foul ends. And maybe H.L. Mencken should have been locked up for trying to pass off his opinions on gullible readers as normal, objective journalism. H.L. Mencken scorned such criticism as the jabbering of dumb yahoos, especially when it came from world-famous U.S. presidential candidate William Jennings Bryan, who called H.L. Mencken a disgrace. Mencken a disgrace to journalism, and so genetically twisted that he couldn't even write a straight item for the obituary page. Unfortunately for William Jennings Bryan, he died before H.L. Mencken did, and he paid a terrible price for it. When H.L. wrote his obituary in the American Mercury, it was and remains one of the most hideous things ever written. One of the hideous things ever written about a dead man in the history of American letters. And I remember being shocked when I first read it, thinking, ye gods, this is evil. I had learned in school that Bryan was a genuine hero of history, but after reading H.L. Mencken's brutal obit, I knew in my heart that he was in truth a monster. It was clearly opinion, no doubt about that, but I believed it then and I believe it now. Bryan was a dumb brute and a raving charlatan who argued desperately in court that a male is not a mammal and thought anybody who disagreed with him should go to prison. His shadow hung over the White House for decades and he was worshipped by millions. I shudder to know that most of my friends from high school still think he was a great man. H.L. Mencken understood that politics as used in journalism was the art of controlling his environment and he made no apologies for it. In my case, using what politely might be called advocacy journalism, I've used reporting as a weapon to affect political situations that bear down on my environment. It worked for Pat Buchanan, and it almost worked for me. In politics, there is no honor. Benjamin Disraeli. On some days, you get what you deserve in the politics business. And in autumn of 1970, I almost got mine. Let's get the answers. Red, Donnie Darko. Belgium, Misty Copeland. True. They belong to the Solanaceae, or nightshade family. And cloud weight. Cloud weight is not a weight class in boxing. Potatoes and tomatoes are related. First African American woman to be named the principal dancer for the American Ballet Theater in 2015, Misty Copeland. What present-day country is Waterloo, where Napoleon was defeated? In Belgium. Well, that's to the east of Germany. I was wrong. Waterloo's in Belgium. I guess after Napoleon was defeated, he was able to help himself to a nice big old pile of waffles in what's one of these movies? Donnie Darko. Isn't that the one I guessed? Donnie Darko? Not Stephen King. So Carrie and the Green Mile is inspired by a Stephen King novel. Donnie Darko, nobody knows who the hell wrote that. And what color do Chinese brides traditionally wear? Red. Red, white, and blue. That's what I want my wife to wear. Oh my goodness. Red, white, and blue. And black. Red, white, blue, and black. Proud to be an American. At least I know I'm free. I was on the ballot that year. The freak power candidate for sheriff of Pitkin County, Colorado. The freak power candidate for sheriff of Pitkin County, Colorado. Somewhere around Halloween, I looked at the numbers and realized that I might actually win. A secret BBC TV poll of the community showed me running far ahead of the GOP candidate while the Democratic incumbent and I were too close to call. The campaign combined journalism and politics. It was necessary. We had no choice. To whom it may concern, October 20th, 1970, contrary to widespread rumors and a plague of wishful thinking, I'm very serious about my candidacy for the office of sheriff in the coming November election. Anybody who thinks I'm kidding is a fool. 739 new registrations since the September primary is no joke in a county with a total vote of less than 3,000. So the time has come, I think, to dispense with evil humor, come to grips with the strange possibility that the next sheriff of this county might very well be a foul-mouthed outlaw journalist with some very rude notions about lifestyles, law enforcement, and political reality in America. Why not? This is a weird twist in my life, and despite the natural horror of seeing myself as the main pig, I feel ready, and I think Aspen is ready. Not only for a stone freak sheriff, but for a whole new style of local government, the kind of government Thomas Jefferson had in mind when he used the word democracy. We have not done too well with that concept, not in Aspen or anywhere else, and the proof of our failure is the wreckage of Jefferson's dream that haunts us on every side from coast to coast on the TV news and 1,000 daily newspapers. We've blown it. That fantastic possibility that Abe Lincoln called the last best hope of man, or maybe not completely anyway. There are people who argue that we can still get a grip on ourselves and salvage some of the pieces. But not even Nixon would be willing to bet seriously on this chance. And in fact, the only thing that makes it worth trying is that we don't really have much choice. The alternatives are too ugly for our children, if not for ourselves. This is the grim context that our politicians have forced upon us. On us, even in Aspen, this valley is no longer a refuge or a hideout from reality. For years that was true. This valley was the best of both worlds. An outpost of urban culture buried deep in the rural Rockies. It was a very sellable property, as they say in show business, and for 20 years, the selling orgy boomed fat and heavy. And now we are reaping the whirlwind. Big city problems, too malignant for small town solutions. Chicago-style traffic in a town without stoplights. Oakland-style drug bust continually bungled by simple cowboy cops who see nothing wrong with kicking handcuffed prisoners in the ribs, while the sheriff stands by watching, seeing nothing wrong with it either. While the ranchers howl about zoning, New York stockbrokers and art hustlers sell the valley out from under them. The county attorney has his own iron mine and his own industrial slum at the mouth of the valley. The county commissioners are crude dimwits, lackeys for every big city dealer who wants a piece of the action. This is a nightmare, a bad movie, a terrifying joke on us all. We are shitting in our own nest, and the stench is becoming intolerable. Where will it end? When? How? And who will throw the switch? Only serious people can laugh. Federico Fellini, Hunter S. Thompson for sheriff, 1970, Colorado. And then he's got his little tentative platform. Little freak power poster there. And then the platform's pretty... I'll read that some other time.